Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Besancon, and this is your pet tip of the month. Today we're going to be talking about heat stroke. Heat stroke can occur with the summer months coming around. We really got to be concerned with the heat and your pet and make sure that they're not getting overheated and have a stroke, a heat stroke because of that. What is a heat stroke? Basically what a heat stroke is elevation in body temperature. Usually above 103 is abnormal for dogs and cats. When it gets up in the 106 range, and there's no signs of inflammation or infection in your pet, this can be highly suggestive of a heat stroke. So you really need to watch these guys, especially in these summer months, to make sure that this doesn't occur. So we'll talk about a few things that we can do to try to prevent some of this later. Some of the risk factors in South Texas, the increase in heat and humidity, that's a big one. Just the mere environmental increase in temperature can definitely increase their risk. Cars, got to watch your cars if you're taking your pets with you to the grocery store, things like that. Really watch them whenever they're in the car. Restricted water, make sure your outdoor pets and all your pets have plenty of water to keep them cool. Exercise, we need to exercise our pets. We just got to be careful in these summer months. Make sure we do it at certain times so that we can prevent some of these other problems that we're going to talk about. Predisposing problems, some things that may occur or your dog may have that can predispose them to having a heat stroke. One of them is if they've previously had a heat stroke. They're more prone to having another one, so definitely watch that. Age, younger dogs and older dogs tend to be more affected, so really watch these guys, especially as they get older. They're not able to compensate as well, and so can have more of a problem. Pets that have come from the north or they're not acclimated very well, indoor dogs that are put outside, these guys do not adjust as well. They don't adjust very fast and are not able to cool themselves as well. They're just not used to it, and so really watch those guys. Overweight pets, cats and dogs that are overweight, same reason. They just can't adjust. They can't cool themselves, so really watch those guys, especially if you're going to exercise them. Short-nosed dogs, the brachycephalics, the smush face, some people call them. Those guys, they can't breathe as well, therefore they can't cool themselves as well. Pugs, Pekingese, boxers, bulldogs, those are just a few breeds that have the shorter nose, and those guys cannot cool themselves as well. They have a lot of upper airway changes just from their breed, and so they're more prone to getting hot. So really watch those as well. Thick hair coats, your Samoyeds, your Huskies, German Shepherds, any of these dogs that have a really thick undercoat or a thick long hair coat, really watch these guys for the same reason. They can sure overheat and cause a problem. Any underlying lung or heart problems, if your dog has got some problems there, sure watch them closer as well. Clinical signs, what are you going to see? Basically, they'll probably start with panting. They may pant, their heart rate will elevate quite a bit. They're going to have they may have some really red mucous membranes, brick red tongue. Obviously their temperature is going to elevate if you have a thermometer that you can check that. So those are some of the beginning signs. Then they may start having muscle tremors. They may become real wobbly. They may have a glazed look to their eyes, even seizure, and later may progress into bloody diarrhea, bloody vomiting. These guys, their organs can start shutting down, and so you really got to watch these guys. They can go into a coma, their heart can stop, and they can even die from this. So it's definitely a serious thing. You really need to watch for the signs so you can catch it early and get them to a veterinarian to get them treated properly. How do you diagnose it? Typically with clinical signs. Clinical signs in an elevated temperature. A temperature of 106 with no sign of inflammation or infection, with all the clinical signs, will definitely fits a heat stroke, hyperthermia as they call it. Some other things that the veterinarian may do to assess some of the other functions of the body, just because the heat stroke can cause a lot of problems with the kidneys, the heart, the brain. You can have swelling in the brain with a heat stroke. And so blood work, x-rays, things like that, your veterinarian will definitely go over that with you depending on the severity of the heat stroke and how bad it was. Treatment, the goal is basically to cool your pet down and provide supportive care and specific treatment for whatever secondary complications may arise. Some things you can do at home. First, call your veterinarian, And then some things you can try to get these guys cooled off. Cool baths, do not use ice, you just want to use cool water. You can spray alcohol on their feet, in their inguinal areas, between their back legs and on their ears. What happens is the alcohol evaporates and it kind of pulls some of that heat out of them to try to get their core body temperature down. Fans are really good, blow cool air over them to try to keep them cool, get them inside, get them in air condition, get them in shade, wherever it is, to get them cooled off, and get some fans blowing on them as well. At 103, when their temperature reaches about 103, if you have access to a thermometer, you really want to kind of slow down your cooling. You don't want these guys to get too cold. These guys can sometimes go and get too cold, so you really want to watch that. Get them into your veterinarian, get the proper treatment to make sure these guys don't start shutting down some of their organs. Their kidneys are really important, liver, their heart, and then even have damage to the brain. Those are things you really need to worry about with heat stroke. And so your veterinarian can run some tests to make sure that none of those were damaged. And if they were, get them on the proper treatment. Some other things to think about just with the summer months, some other things that can cause the heat stroke that you may not have thought about: leaving your pets in the car. If you go grocery shopping, even with the windows down, even parked in the shade, the temperature can get up to 120 pretty quick, within minutes in your car, even if you're parked in the shade in these summer months. So really be careful. These guys can't regulate their temperature very well when it gets that hot, and so they are more prone to heat strokes. Riding in the back of the car, that's another thing. These guys are exposed to the sunlight in the back of the truck, and that they need to be definitely watched. Plenty of access to water, frequent breaks. If you really have to put them back there, it'd be ideal to put them in the car, in the air conditioner if you can. When you're unloading your car from coming back from the grocery store, or anytime you leave your doors open for any extended period of time, you definitely want to check, make sure none of your cats and or little dogs get in there, and you close them in there. Just double check, make sure they're not in there. They cannot regulate the heat that can build up in the car that fast. When you exercise your pet, it's great to exercise them. In the summer months, you really have to be careful when you do it. Early mornings and late evenings are the best time when it's cool. Do not want to do it in the middle of the day, especially if it's real humid and hot. Also, watch the asphalt. If you're walking on concrete or on the road, make sure that it's not very hot. It can get pretty hot during the day, and you do not want to burn the bottoms of their feet. So really, really watch these guys, especially the short-nosed dogs. They can't tolerate exercise, heat very well. They can't breathe very well. So really watch those guys. Outdoor pets, make sure they have access to plenty of shade, plenty of water, a nice cool breezed area. Just really watch the guys that are outside. They can get hot pretty quick. Any dogs that were inside that you put outside, those especially are more prone to having some problems. So really watch them in this high heat that we're fixing to come upon in the summer months. With the summer comes a lot of events, a lot of crowded events that go on during the summer. We really need to watch these guys. A lot of people like to take their pets to these events. Really watch them. It gets really crowded. Airflow is not very good. These guys get stressed out and they can't regulate their body temperature. Make sure you take plenty of water with you and give them breaks. Make sure they're in a cool area so that they don't get overheated. These are some things to think about during the summer months. Hopefully they help you out, and have a great summer.